anniversary.
Oh, I know.
Always so hard. And I miss him. I miss John. I miss John so much, but I always carry my Bible. My Bible. This keeps me in touch. John, my husband, John we often read the Bible together, and certainly the night before he left to fight in Louisiana, we read the Bible together. We read the Bible together. So the Bible keeps me close. Keeps me close.
Certain passages you prefer?
Just in general. Just in general. Just to hold it.
Yes.
Just to hold it.
No, it's not easy.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Persis Guile. Born and raised here in Templeton. I'm sorry, what did you say?
So you can catch the name.
Persis Guile. My name is Persis Guile. My husband came from Connecticut, but and I met him downstairs here in the general store. Matter of fact, but I've lived. My family has lived in Templeton since before 1775. So my family is not one of the earlier settlers. Templeton was founded in 1735, so we weren't one of the early founders, but we did come later, 1770s, so to settle in Templeton. Member of First Church, where my husband's buried in the graveyard. So close to him, and I live not very far from here, but I share this. I share accommodations. I share my sister's house because being a widow, I have no income, and I could not afford to keep our house. So I moved in with my sister, and it's been almost a year. And with no income, a widow with no income, I must rely on family and friends and members of the church for my livelihood, for food, for accommodations, for heat. That's just where it is. I'm a poor country widow. Now, what I wear, and normally a widow in the 1860s would be dressed in what we call deep mourning, and so this is deep mourning, pretty much all black, and basically I would stay here at home, go to church, of course, for worship, and the ladies' social meetings, but basically I don't get around very much during my deep mourning because it's a sign of my grief for losing my husband. And I am dressed, being a poor country widow, I'm dressed very, very simply, very simply. And this material is a special widow's cloth material that widows wore. However, I've read in the Vanity Fair and some of the other magazines, and I've seen widows' outfits. And if you have the money, your mourning clothes can be very stylish to fit the styles of the current styles. So this is a mourning outfit to be worn by a woman who has money, so that she can use clothing styled with the latest styles. Even though you're a widow in some circles, even though you're, the wealthier circles, even though you're a widow, you want to be stylish. And as a widow in the wealthier circles, you're quite a catch. You're quite a catch because you're sexually experienced. your next husband doesn't have to break you in. You're sexually experienced, and you probably have an inheritance from your late husband. So this makes you very attractive, and you can have suitors pretty much, you know, after 6 months or so. You can actually, men will actually start making it known that they are interested in you as a wife. But they give you that 6 months. But no widow can marry until 2.5 years after her husband's death. You wanted to be in black for 2 years. You had to be in deep mourning for 2 years. And then after your 2 years, you go into lighter mourning, and that means you can add some color to your mourning outfit. For example, this bodice has a little bit of white or cream that's been added to the top of the bodice around the neck. This is lighter mourning. So bit by bit you would add lighter mourning, lighter cloth to your clothes.
That indicated to the men that you were into a new stage.
Right, moving out of deep widowhood. It's interesting, this dress. Now, this dress actually looks brown, doesn't it? Does it look brown to you?
Yes.
Actually, it's black. But you had to be careful because if you bought cheap black material, it would turn brown.
Really?
And that was, you know, that was kind of you didn't want to go around in brown. But people would know that you bought cheap black cloth. So merchants, the widow mourning was a very big business during the 1800s. And so merchants advertised that they would sell only black cloth that would not turn brown.
What's the underdress of that?
It's just,
A slip?
well, it's not a slip,
that's
it's
part of
part
the
of the,
dress.
it's part of the dress.
Yes.
And of course, it's a little bit lower in the back to allow for bustle. A little bit. So this dress has a little bit of red, which was toward your later mourning, that was okay, and the white, they've added the white. So this would be later in the morning period.
Excuse me, Princess. Would the widow, for a certain amount of time, wear a veil?
I do. It was more or less up to the widow, but I think in deep mourning for at least 6 months you were veiled whenever you went out in public. But I'm thinking even for those 2 years, whenever you went out in public, you wore your veil. Maybe not at home around your family and friends, but if you went out in public, you had that veil, symbol of your deep mourning. That you truly, this showed the world that you truly loved your husband. The clothing. Sometimes I was at an event at a church, and a young man came over to me and complimented me, saying how fetching I looked in my black garments, and I got you know, really steamed at him because, you know, how dare he say that? I'm not dressed in black as a fashion statement. I'm dressed in black to mourn my husband. And yet that was the attitude of some men during the 1800s. That a widow was very, as I said, a widow was very attractive. And one of the ways to try and make contact with the widow was to compliment her. But that was the wrong thing to do. That was the wrong. We think this is a nursing corset because the stays go only up to here, and these straps come down. So we the other Saturday there was a woman who made clothes and was a fashion designer, and that was her comment, that she thought this was a corset that would have been worn when a woman was nursing. And all the more pity because here's a young widow with a child, with a baby, with an infant. Extra hard. This is a lovely little thing, and you need to get up and see it later, but for children whose father had died, this is a mourning doll. It's porcelain, it's dressed in black, an embroidered skirt, And these types of dolls were given to little girls when their father died as a way to help them through their mourning. So this is our mourning. We have some parasols here. This is my favorite.
Oh, lovely.
I can turn it, and again with the parasols. This parasol is lined in white. So again, this would be a parasol you would wear in lighter mourning. And they're not very big, are they? And again, this is another mourning outfit for a wealthy young woman. Sequins, beads, and a little bit of fur. During the time of mourning, what I've done is covered the portrait. Of my husband. Peek at it every now and then, but it's what you did. You covered the deceased portrait because you didn't want to look on him because it hurt. It hurt for those early times.
Yes.
During the mourning period, it's very women in Victorian times in the 1800s, and this exhibit is 1850 to 1915. In the 1800s, Victorian women, and when I say Victorian, I just don't mean English, I mean in the United States. They did all sorts of crafts, and they loved nature, and they did all sorts of crafts. You'll see the examples around here of some of the crafts they did. But for mourning, they created mourning, what we call a mourning wreath, and it's made out of human hair. Now to us that seems kind of macabre maybe, you know, ugh, what hair, human hair, but it was a real way of showing mourning during the Victorian era. And this might be even a family wreath. You can see the hair, all different colors, so all different ages. But when one person died, a rosette would be created out of their hair and added. So this could be a real family mourning wreath. Every time someone died, they would take their hair and usually it's made into flowers. And it's how they do it. They take wire and they bend the wire into the shape they want, and then they twist or they work the hair around the wire.
Excuse me, is that done by somebody special or
no, people, whoever, yeah, it could be the person themselves. Again, this was a very big industry, as I said, with mourning, very big industry in all facets, and there were people who you would give them, send them the hair, and they would create this for us. It was a big business, but also people could do this themselves. And in among the rosettes and the flowers, there are some beads. They've added beads, but again, this is the standard oval frame that would have been used, and against usually a silk background. But again, it's a horseshoe, kind of a horseshoe, and it's open at the top for the way to heaven.
Maybe they
For what?
Oh, I see.
The way to heaven.
Are they own that?
Not, these are different kinds, and we'll get to this one, this wreath.
Maybe they had horses there.
But it symbolizes, it's the open, so it's the path to heaven. That connects you with your deceased. This is a lovely one. Now this wreath isn't a mourning wreath. It's a gift to, there used to be a church, a second church in Templeton. You know down Boynton Street, there's that big open area between the library and that White House with the 4 pillars of the parsonage, the first church. There used to be a second church there, the Trinitarian Church. And that was there for a number of years, but they finally merged with First Church. And when they did, they tore it down. But when they were active, this was made by the women's group at the church as a gift to their pastor.
Where did they obtain all the hair from?
All the members of the church. This is hair from all the members of the church
The ones that were alive.
at that time. Yes, yeah, all the members of the church. And I'm going to read this just a little bit. It's the wreath is in the form of a crescent with a small cross in the center. And it's made, as I said, entirely of hair of those who regularly attended the Trinitarian Church in the 1890s. This was made in the 80s. We have some real treasures. We have some real treasures here. And the pastor's name was the Reverend Louis Sabin, Dr. Louis Sabin. And we don't know all the names of the people. Well, in fact, the only name we really know, this rosette of gray hair, we've been told that that's the pastor's hair. And if you look at the pastor, he didn't have too much hair.
Oh, yeah.
Really
Not too much hair.
They must have taken it all.
But that's his, that's his hair. And it's really, I mean, again, you can, I hope you look at it after, and there's not too much reflection here, so you can really see the different, there's many different forms of flowers here, many different forms, and you can even see some of the wire because some of the hair is falling off, but you can see the little wire, but it's really beautiful, beautiful work. It is beautiful.
I think I see the pencil.
Oh, you could. Well, there's all sorts of different flowers. Now our third wreath is right here, and this is kind of like the pièce de résistance. This is, again, it's a memorial wreath because it's open at the top, and it was done by S. Jane Holkins. Now, we don't know too much about this wreath. We know it was made by S. Jane Holkins, and it says the mother of Mrs. J.S. Dunn of Gardner. And the center rosette is made of men's hair. So this is the beautiful, it's really beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful center rosette. That's all we know. It's done on silk, which was usually the way one of these hair wreaths was done. Look at this beautiful basket. I think it's a basket of grapes. Would you say that was a basket of grapes? I think. It's hard to tell, but I think it's a basket of grapes because there's the little stems along the grapevines, the little stems, that's their fashion there. A lot of beads in the center of the flowers, and this weighs a ton. But again, it's in the same golden frame, golden oval frame.
Late 1800s?
Yes, yeah. All these right in the late 1800s, yeah. And again, we have some silhouettes here. Many people at that time had silhouettes made of their friends and family and other loved ones. This is quite interesting. Not only was human hair made for wreaths, both memorial wreaths and gift wreaths, auction of jewelry made from human hair. And what fascinates me the most is a set of earrings. Earrings made out of human hair in the form of crosses. Oh. So that's kind of, I think that's kind of cool. That's what fascinates me. And there are bracelets. This bracelet in particular is not a mourning bracelet, it's a gift. There's a little inscription on the back of it, of this yellow piece in the front. I don't know if it's gold or not, but it reads basically, it's a Christmas gift from a brother to a sister. And I don't know if that's his hair. Sometimes you have to guess. It might be the brother's hair. And he made it as a gift for his sister. I was looking at, I'm going to zip to the future for a minute here, and I was watching a TV show called Reign, R-E-I-G-N. It's the story of Mary, Queen of Scots. And one of the characters in this particular episode, I think 2 weeks ago, he was wearing a hair bracelet that had been given to him by a girlfriend or a lover. We don't use girlfriend, but given him to a lover. So hair, and this would have been in the 1500s. Queen Elizabeth, right? 1500s. So hair has been used in jewelry for centuries. Not just for mourning, but as a remembrance. And you might know that Lovers would give lockets of would give cuttings of their hair. Like if someone was going away, a young woman might ask her boyfriend, for a lock of his hair that she could put into a locket, and she would give him a cutting from her hair to put into a locket, but a brooch or something, and she would put a lock of hair maybe into her Bible. So hair has great symbolism, and I've been trying to think, why is hair used in this way? And I'm thinking, I don't know, one theory I came up with is perhaps when someone dies or when someone leaves, the hair is a very tangible reminder of that person. You can't, maybe you don't have a photograph, and memory does fade over time, but you have that piece of hair. Hair doesn't fade, hair pretty well stays. And so I'm thinking hair, that's why the importance of hair in relationships, because it's a reminder, a tangible reminder. You can't, your husband is deceased, is buried, you can't see him anymore, but you have the hair that you can hang on to. That's my theory.
Your husband's hair?
Yes, before he went off to fight, we exchanged lockets of hair.
Part of him is still there.
Yes, part of him is still there. And if I could wear jewelry, I have a brooch with his hair in it. But I'm not wearing jewelry right now in my mourning. There is, however, there's a little brooch in here that you can look at later. It's under lock and key. This is from Brian Tanguay's collection. This is from the Historical Society, but Brian Tanguay, our president, has loaned us his personal collection. And there's a beautiful brooch with, and I would even call it a lover's knot. Now that's my guess. But it has a light strand of hair and a dark strand. Now it could symbolize youth and old age of one person, but it's kind of twisted, so I like to think it's a lover's knot. I'm a romantic, and I like to think of it as a lover's knot, and that's what I'm thinking of doing for my husband and our section of hair, making, I did make it into a kind of a lover's knot. And so there's a little heart that's, there's a little heart here, a locket, and it's made all of hair inside. So it's really fascinating. We have, this is something very special. It's under glass because it's so fragile. But I did take some, we do have jump into the future again. I did take some photos of it. This is an autograph album. And back then in the 1800s, you would ask your friends and your family to write something in your autograph album, kind of like a memorial, a memory book. And they would write sentiments. And so this is Josie Wilde, W-I-L-D-E. I'm thinking that's how you pronounce it, Josie Wilde. This is her autograph book, and it's right here. And the page it's open to, let me show you. The page it's open to is something that her mother wrote, and her mother was Mary Partridge, I believe. I can't see.
Is that the family that the Partridge wrote?
I don't know. That's a good question, but I don't know. But this is from her mother, and the two gloves intertwined, but also this is tatted, a ring of tatted hair. And I'm thinking tatted hair from her mother. Now again, this is using hair. It's using hair, and it reads, and you can read it, look at it. Remember me, your mother Mary. Oh no, Parkhurst. Sorry, not Partridge. Remember me, your mother Mary Parkhurst, 1878. So this album is around 1878. Again, friends have written down little sayings and locks of hair. Most of these pages have locks of hair. Some are drawings. Some people have, again, a little lock of hair and all tatted.
Look at the color on that one. That was different.
Well, this is ephemera. This is a cutout. Victorians were very big in working with paper. They call it ephemera, but it was paper. You've probably seen them, hearts and...
Applique.
Yes, yeah. And this is one of them, and you can read them. I've I've written it down, what it says in here, because it's kind of hard to read it, but there is one from a guy in here, and I think this is kind of funny. This is from a guy, and instead of any sentimental, he didn't write any sentimental, the guy wrote, "Pay your taxes."
Oh,
The guy wrote, "Pay your taxes." And
amusing.
and most of these are from East Templeton, but one of
Probably a
them,
tax collector then.
I don't know, he could be, I don't know. One of them, excuse me a minute, it says, "In a valley centuries ago grew a little fern leaf, green and tender, veining delicate, waving when the wind crept down so low, bushes tall and grass and moss grew around it. Playful sunbeams darted in and found it, but no foot of man e'er came that way. Earth was young and keeping holiday. Useless? Lost? There came a thoughtful man, searching nature's secrets far and deep. From a fissure in a rocky steep, he withdrew a stone on which there ran, fairy penciling, a quaint design, leafage, veining, flowers clear and fine, and the fern's life lay in every line. So I think God hides some lives away, sweetly to surprise us the last day." Now this is Etta Wheeler. But aren't these beautiful? They took the time to write them down, and so these are a precious memory book, and I think I've never seen one before, but we have this in the collection. So if you'd like to look at that, read. A lot of them are connected to God and friendship. You know, remember me, I'm your faithful friend. You know, I will never forget you. So those are wonderful little things to have.
I think we need a little more of that now.
Yeah.
Very true, very true. So this is, I'm going to leave you now. I'm heading off to church for a ladies' event, but please feel free to stay and look at our collection. This is a bonnet I'm going to be wearing one day, but again, it's a bonnet with a little bit of white inside. So in lighter mourning. I'm a widow, so I would dress in black, but a sister, or talking about women, a sister or a child wouldn't be in this black, didn't have to wear complete black for so long. So this could be a sister's bonnet also. Within 6 months, you know, or so. She necessarily didn't have to dress in black because she was considered to be in lighter mourning. It wasn't her husband; it was her brother, and but later on, I'll be in this. I'll be in this.
Did you say the other members of the family dressed partially in black?
They didn't. They weren't in as dark mourning. My husband's mother's in Connecticut because he came from Connecticut. So she would be wearing black because it was her son, but and he doesn't have any sisters.
For the length of time that you do, or less?
No, less, all less. Yep, yep. More leeway with sisters and other distant relatives.
Where do you keep this collection of all these magnificent things?
Here and there.
Here and there.
Here and there. Here and there. This is also, whoops, leave that there. This is another memorial wreath, but it's not made of hair, it's made of moss and seashells.
Oh.
So, you know, again, a different kind of art craft work, but still a mourning
Maybe
wreath.
he was a sea captain.
Could have been. I wish we had, you know, Antiques Roadshow talks about provenance, the story behind the artifact, and we don't have a lot of the stories, but we do have some information. So, but it's fun to guess, you know, and maybe we're wrong, maybe we're right, but it's still fun to guess and think about how times were back in Templeton in the 1800s.
Very interesting.
Do you have any questions?
Magnificent.
Okay, thank you.
Very, very interesting and informative, and I thank you for your time.
Well, I'm so glad that...
This would be for a rich widow, right?
Yes, Yes, fashionable, because she had the money to dress in the fashion of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish, you know, I wish, but it's a little ostentatious for my taste anyway. I'm a
Yes.
poor country widow.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of
Yeah.
too much for me, too much, and I think maybe a little disrespectful.
I like yours better.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Amazing collection.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm quite proud. Before we started this, to put this exhibit together, I did not know we had all this. I was poking through drawers and some closets and found all these wonderful things. And some of them are on loan. The funeral doll is on loan from Cheryl and Sheila Murphy, the Murphy girls, and the hat also came from the Murphy girls. Sheila and Cheryl Murphy, they're sisters who live in Gardner, and they have a shop, a vintage shop that they sell vintage items.